Let's talk a little bit about Canon games and role-playing games and why it's foolhardy to even try to run one. Welcome back to those of you who've been here before. Welcome to those of you who are new to the channel. My name is Bobby. This is the Geek Cabal channel. There are two other gentlemen here. They're not here physically at this very moment, but they're a part of the channel, Brad and Chad. When our schedules align, we get together and film videos because we all prefer the more discussion method than just projecting method. But that has just not occurred much lately, which is why there's been an awful lot of car videos with just me in them. So, hopefully that will change here going into the summer, but we'll see. You know, it is what it is. We are trying to sort out some technical means, probably some kind of workaround involving using like a video conferencing thing, plus the phone's recording, and then splicing all the audio, and just haven't gotten around to trying the walkthroughs and then hammering out the technical problems yet. But you know, because that also takes time. So we'll just see how that goes, though. But anyway, today this will hopefully be a very short video. I want to talk about Canon in role-playing games and trying to adhere to Canon, and that it's a foolish endeavor. And I mentioned this in another video, but it's a much longer video, and this is a salient point all on its own. So here we go. Real quickly, what is Canon? By the way, it's C-A-N-O-N, not two N's. Two N's is the weapon that fires cannonballs and typically is found on a pirate ship. Canon refers to like what is official, okay? And it's derived, again, like I said in the video about what is canon, I believe it is derived from the church, the Christian faith, as far as which books of the Bible are considered canon, because there are other books of the Bible, and those are considered what they call apocrypha. And I'm not well versed enough in Christianity and its various offshoots to tell you that that's like ubiquitous across all the various versions of the faiths, or if some view some books as canon and others do not, or, you know, I'm not going to go into that. Not a theologist. Not the point. The point is, for other IPs, they also have their own versions of canon. Like for Marvel Comics, canon is basically all of Marvel Comics. I don't think there's anything that's non-canon, unless it specifically like says so. Oh well, actually, there was a recent thing released by Alex Ross, a Fantastic Four story, that's not considered canon, but he could tell you exactly where it would fit in if you want to consider it canon, as far as between which issues. So it's a real good story, by the way, and the artwork's fantastic. Alex Ross is a fantastic artist. So as it relates to Dungeons and Dragons, or other role-playing games, canon is essentially the things that are true up to the point that you start playing the game, okay? Or not quite that. That's actually up to you. But like with the Forgotten Realms, there's hundreds of novels. Those novels are all considered canon, with one part of one being a possible exception. But they're all considered canon. So in the canon realms, those events all occurred. Okay? So whenever they do like an update, they're supposed to take those things into account, because all the updates move the timeline forward. And so whenever the timeline moves forward, well, obviously things happen. So things have to happen officially. Now, for your home game, that doesn't matter one bit, okay? There's no rule, no law, no implication that you have to follow the canon setting. If you play in the Forgotten Realms, you can very easily say, hey, you know what? I loved these things from the Spell Plague. I'm going to keep them even though supposedly they stopped. I'm going to keep them. The hell with it. Well, you can do that. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And so, as a consequence, though, your game is not canon. But your game can't be canon anyway. And this is the critical point. The moment your characters take the stage, it's no longer a canon game because your characters don't exist in canon. They are going to interact with other characters who don't exist in canon. And they are going to interact with characters who do exist in canon, who have canon fates and destinies that you are not going to adhere to. So, you literally cannot run a canon game. So, stop trying to. And some of you out there are like, well, who needs to actually hear this? I'll tell you who. It's people that complain about the Forgotten Realms. Because one of the biggest complaints is, what about all these NPCs? Like, how can I adhere to, how can I stick with canon? I know these characters are here. You decide if they're there, okay? You as the dungeon master decide, am I going to adhere to everything up to point X, and then my game takes off from there? And going forward, am I going to pay kind of lip service to canon anyway? Areas we haven't been to or whatever. And you can do that. That's fine, but still not a canon game, because like if you're in Neverwinter, you're screwing up whatever the canon is for Neverwinter. Even if you're adhering to canon every place else, you're still not playing a canon game, okay? And you can't. It is impossible. And so I think once people understand this, their complaints about using the Forgotten Realms, a lot of them disappear. Okay? Now, there's other things you can fault the Realms for. It feels like an everything in the kitchen sink setting. It does now, after several editions and Wizards of the Coast continually screwing with it. Ed's original vision, not so much. And so, you got that. You've got, it's basically pseudo-medieval. Well, most of the settings are, so I really don't consider that a complaint. Plus, it's actually, most of the parts of the setting are closer to Renaissance than medieval. But, don't let a little thing like that get in your way. So, yeah, so my overarching point, like I said, was you can't run a canon game. Okay? You just can't be done. Okay? So quit beating your head trying to. If you have players that are being an issue, you tell them, look, this is my game, our game, here at our table. And as the person that decides these things, I have said these things are canon. Anything else that you personally know, because now you're into metagaming, because your character doesn't know these things, you know them, consider those at best rumors. When you actually confront them at some point in the setting, it's going to be whatever I say it is. Okay, so if there's someone who follows the novels and you're like, well, then you get to the Anarok Desert and the Shade Enclave is still there. And they're like, well, no, it got destroyed in the last Elminster book. And you're like, well, I don't care, Timmy. Like, I just told you. The things I told you are what is canon. Everything else is maybe a rumor. So it was a rumor, it got destroyed, and guess what? It didn't. Here it is. Can we continue the game now? That's what you do, and you just move on. And either your players are going to accept it, or they're not, and if they don't, well, you've got bigger problems. So, anyway, in closing, to repeat again, you can't run a canon game, so quit worrying about it, quit trying to. Let me know what you folks think down in the comments. Am I just off my rocker? Is this a worthwhile bit of information? Do you try to run a canon game? Let me know how that's going for you. Do you just say the hell with canon and just do your own thing? Also interesting. But anyway, let me know. We can get some conversation going, maybe we'll do some more videos down the road on the topic. But anyway, Thank you folks for watching. Always appreciate that. Like, share, subscribe. Really appreciate that. But see you later.